What if riding transportation in Switzerland was as easy as 1, 2, 3? Well, we're gonna make it that simple. Today we're traveling from the Zurich Airport to Interlaken, and we're gonna take you along for the journey so you can learn how to ride Swiss transportation like a pro.
Welcome to Switzerland. We're in Zurich Airport Terminal 2, which is where most of you will arrive if you're coming from outside of Europe. And thankfully, the train station is literally right next door. Follow the signs to reach the station. Once you get there, you'll see plenty of restaurants, grocery stores, and shops. But we need a train ticket, so let's follow the signs to the ticket office. There are 4 ways to buy a Swiss train ticket and 2 main ways to buy a transportation pass. But we will not bore you with all those details here because we have a step-by-step guide for that, which we'll tell you more about later.
When you buy a ticket from the ticket office, you can ask for the next available departure or for the route with the fewest train changes. And there are even a few direct trains that go from the Zurich Airport to Interlaken. Obviously, that's a good choice if the timing makes sense. But for our route, we're going to have to make some changes. So the friendly staff, who speak fantastic English by the way, printed off this itinerary for us so we can show you our whole journey. Now here's the thing, sometimes you have to wait in a long line to buy your tickets. So you could always use the SBB Mobile App instead. We have a complete tutorial about using the app in our ultimate guide to Swiss transportation. But since I have this handy piece of paper right here, we'll just show you what you need to know. This itinerary shows you the departure time, platform, and train number for each segment of our journey. Our first route from the Zurich Airport to Bern departs at 1:08 p.m. from platform 3, so we better get going.
Follow signs to platform 3. When the train arrives, step aside so passengers can exit the train first, then you can board. If no one gets off the train, press the button on the outside to open the door. If you have a second-class ticket, find the second-class carriage marked with a large number 2. If you have luggage, you can place it in the luggage racks near the doors, on the overhead shelves, or between the seats. Just don't forget to keep an eye on your luggage so you don't get pickpocketed or pick-luggaged. You know what I mean. Now it's time to find a seat. There's open seating on most Swiss trains, so we can just sit down in any unoccupied seat. But sometimes seats can be reserved, so you'll want to make sure that this little spot right here doesn't have someone's name on it. If there is a name in a route, you'll want to probably find another seat.
According to both our printed itinerary and the handy screen in our train carriage, we can see that our ride from Zurich Airport to Bern should take about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So what are we going to do with all that time? I don't know about you, but I get pretty hungry on travel days, so let's go find the restaurant car. There are usually icons in each carriage that tell you which direction the restaurant car is in. You can walk from carriage to carriage until you find it. Not all trains in Switzerland have a restaurant car, but most of the longer routes do, including this one from Zurich to Bern. You can order anything off of their full menu or keep it simple with coffee and a snack.
But if you came prepared with your own snacks, you can eat in your seat, which is why we usually hit up the grocery store in the airport before we get on our train. Just don't forget to throw your trash away in the trash cans. I still remember the very first time that we rode a train in Switzerland. It was 2012 on our honeymoon, and we looked like complete fools. We sat in this silent business class carriage, even though we had second class tickets. We put our suitcases on the chair because we didn't know about luggage racks, and I remember asking at least 10 people where we were so we didn't miss our stop. Thankfully, we didn't, but we were complete newbies to Swiss transportation, and we don't want you to make the same mistakes that we did. That's why we created the ultimate guide to Swiss transportation. Now, I'm super excited to tell you about it, but we're almost to Bern, so it'll have to wait till after we make our connection.
Push the button to open the door and exit the train onto the platform. We're arriving on platform 6. Our itinerary says that our next train departs from platform 5, which happens to be the one right next to us. But if your connection isn't that simple, walk down the stairs or the ramp and look at a display board to confirm your next platform. Once you're on the platform, look up at the platform display sign. Check the train formation and identify which carriage you want to sit in and which sector that's in. This time we have a first class ticket, so we'll wait in sector E. As you can tell, this train looks a bit different from the last one, but all of the trains are pretty similar to each other. Wait for the passengers to exit the train, then board and find an open seat. If the train is full, you may have to stand near the door. At some point during your ride, a ticket inspector will likely come around and check your tickets. If you bought from a ticket office or a ticket machine, show them your paper copy. And if you bought online or from the SBB Mobile App, they can scan your digital copy. By the way, if you have a second class ticket, make sure you're sitting in second class. We've seen so many people get fined because the train was crowded and they just picked an open seat, which happened to be first class. That's an expensive mistake that we want to see you avoid. The route from Bern to Spiez is just under 30 minutes. Try to sit on the left side of the train to catch the best views of Lake Thun. Like before, check your printed itinerary and the onboard screens to make sure you don't miss your stop.
We have a few minutes to wait in Spiez until our next train departs, so let's go find somewhere pretty to sit and tell you more about our Swiss transportation guide. This looks like the perfect spot to chat. Okay, like I shared earlier, we have made tons of mistakes while riding the transportation in Switzerland, and we've seen lots of other travelers trying to figure it out too, which is why we made the ultimate guide to Swiss transportation. We've had hundreds of Swiss vacation consultations with travelers like you, and more than 50% of the time, their questions are all about transportation. That's why we made this guide for YOU. Okay, but when you buy it, what are you gonna get? We make it as simple as 1, 2, 3. Part 1 is all about picking and purchasing passes and tickets. How do I know which one or ones I need? Where do I buy them? Do I really need one? Do I need to buy it in advance? You'll get all of this and a whole lot more in Part 1.
Part 2 is all about mastering the SBB app. It's a step-by-step tutorial on how to use this incredible tool that's basically a timetable and ticket machine in your pocket.
Part 3 is all about riding transportation like a pro. We walk you through the journey from arriving at the station to boarding to riding. It covers things like what's in the station, restaurant cars, bathrooms, traveling with kids, where do I put my luggage? Oh, and this isn't just about trains. We cover all modes of transportation like buses, boats, and cable cars, and a whole lot more.
So, will you be traveling in Switzerland? Will you be riding at least one train, bus, boat, cable car, funicular, gondola, tram, or metro? And do you have a brain in your head that's feeling a little anxious because you've never had to do that in another country?
Great! Then chugga choo-choo on over to applandsinthealps.com/guides to buy your ultimate guide to Swiss transportation today and to start riding the transportation like a pro. But now we need to head back to the station so we don't miss our last train and we can show you the rest of the journey to Interlaken.
Compared to Bern, Spiez is a small station with only a few platforms, so it's much easier to navigate and find our platform. You probably have more questions about Swiss trains, so let's try to answer a few before we get to Interlaken.
If you're like me and have a tiny bladder, you'll be happy to hear that all Swiss trains, except for the ones that go way high up into the mountains, have free bathrooms and they're usually pretty clean too.
Sometimes there are power outlets, but a lot of times they're only in the first class carriages. And unfortunately, there's rarely Wi-Fi, but cell phone coverage is really good.
Sometimes the windows open and sometimes there are sunshades.
There are dedicated seats for handicapped travelers and for families with small children.
And yes, it's not unusual for the train to be very, very quiet.
That was a short but scenic train ride from Spiez to Interlaken West. From here, you can continue on the train to Interlaken Oost, ride a bus to somewhere nearby, hop on a boat to cruise Lake Thun, or walk.
In fact, our ultimate guide to Swiss transportation tells you how to do all of that and more. So if you want to ride the transportation like a pro and avoid making the same mistakes that we did on our first trip here, then check out our ultimate guide to Swiss transportation today. And we'll see you in Switzerland, riding the train like a pro.